In this video, I want to continue looking at the structure of our stock report, and I want us to initially write the draft along this structure, and it's still a draft, so we'll see how long it goes, how much material we can generate this way, and then we'll see individually, with my help, I'll help you decide where to cut, what to arrange, what to expand upon, what to rearrange, and then you'll need to take your own direction in this, and you can advocate for any practice. This is going to be a best practice paper, so essentially what it's doing is it's developing as information heavy up front, in the sense of this is what these terms are, this is what this looks like, these are the options available to us, and then once we bring our reader or audience to the place we want him to be in terms of do you see why you're at this point, and how you got to this point in your activity, where what lies before you are these practices. So we're assuming a few things here. We're assuming that our audience is going to be interested in investing and getting the money to grow. And we're going to assume that it's middle class, that it's younger. The audience is younger, so they're trying to start early, but they don't have a lot of capital right now or a lot of money to do this, so they're limited. They're limited in expertise, they're limited in time, they're limited in finance, in capital. So yet they have the sort of an aggressive, confident, naive, let's do this thing, commitment, and they're eager to try to invest. So how are they going to do it? And we've walked them down to the point where they need to see, look, in order for this paper to make sense, the author is trying to get me, now I'm thinking in terms of a reader, to realize that I'm probably going to be doing this on my own, to a discount venue, with a limited amount of capital and a limited amount of time. So what sort of practices would I develop into? All right, so we've already talked about the option. Hey, look, if you don't want to do it yourself at all, put it into a fund, a mutual fund, an IRA, an investment bank, or just get rid of it that way. Say, look, just give me the statements at the end of the year. I expect a decent rate of growth, maybe 8, 9, 10% would be great. And I need, but I understand that you need to work with my money, that you have more expertise with this, so you basically will make the choices of what to invest, when to pull out of an investment. And there's a lot of this sort of trust going on, all right? And so the investor is eagerly awaiting the monthly reports from the fund to see what the fund is doing with his or her money, all right? But the investor has little say after that. And I think that we need to develop the idea that if you're going to go that route, there are still some advice, there's still some things to watch out for. And we could have a best practice scenario for that route. Okay, so maybe we'll come back to that. Because, if you're going to do that, then there are certain mutual funds that you need to watch out for, and some that you can trust, I think, a little bit more. And we'll talk about picking those types of funds. But let's just kind of put that on the burner and say, look, on the back burner, and say, look, I need you to consider the fact that you might not want to do this so passively, that you might be tempted down the line to jump in and to start making your own decisions. What are you going to do? And we sort of, whether fairly or not, right, we eliminated this position because it's so hard for this to remain balanced. It might start off like that, you and an advisor, but who's ultimately making the decision? You. And the more you listen to the human voice, you may realize, hey, I get this advice online too, just in certain financial websites or whatnot. So do I really need to be paying this fee? And I don't want to present it so simplistically, but eventually I think this may just break down, and someone may realize I can do this. All right, I can access the information now. It took me a few months to learn, but now I know where to go. Now I know how to read a chart, a financial statement, etc., etc. So I just I'm working with the idea that this sort of relationship eventually falls apart and it degenerates into this one or that one. All right. So either you end up listening completely to an advisor, and you may as well then just let him do what he wills with your money, or you eventually gain the confidence and you take over and you. Okay. So this is really the one I think we need to develop. The idea of an investor doing this on his own. And remember, we need to find the information about how much is the average salary for a middle-class family. Let's go on the younger side of this. So the head of household is between 30 and 40. And how much money did they actually given from the salary? And we need to kind of figure out about the average expenses too. What the average middle-class family is trying to finance in terms of mortgages, car repairs, grocery bills. So we're going to talk about doing that sort of research. But for right now, we can still brainstorm and work this route. So if you're going to do it alone, you know, you're going to have a spectrum here from minimum research to heavy-duty research. In other words, the issue of time comes into play. How much time are you going to put into this every week, every day, every month to learn about how to do this? So are you going to do a lot of heavy research? Or are you going to do a lot of, are you going to do minimum research because it's a time issue? As far as like what stocks to buy, that sort of thing. So if you do minimal research, what are the pros and what are the cons of this? We're going to do pro cons for both of these. Well, the pro is time for other activities. And I know it's going to probably be hard to read this, but remember, you can watch this on the full screen. But really, if you do minimum research, then you preserve a lot of time for your family, for your hobbies, for your own development, for your own job. Research takes a lot of time. All right. Well, you can end up putting a lot of time into that. And you know, are you going to let it consume you? Trying to figure out all the all the tells, all the signs as to whether this is a strong company or not. You know, if you're not going to let that consume you, you might be realizing, I just don't have the time for this. Okay, so you might be trying to find ways, shortcutting ways, right? So the pros are you do gain time in order to have a normal life, but the cons are you know, poor choices, potentially poor choices. Okay, so what if you do heavy duty research? The pros are sense of you know, correctness. I'm missing the word here, but I really do mean that you get the sense like you're trying to do it right? So you get the sense that you're meeting some moral duty. You're investing the money, it's important to you, it's valuable to you, treat it carefully, keep responsibly. So you a sense of responsible activity, right? But you do get info. This sounds a bit redundant here, but that is a pro. You know, especially if you do hunting around and you find this oil company that has as I think I talked to you about HUSA, HUSA. This oil company has 4 employees. You know, its nearest competitor has 77,000. So how is a oil company with 4 employees actually trading on a public exchange floor? So, you know, you do get info, and you kind of, now if you go to HUSA's website, it's a simple website. An 18-year-old can put it up. Some of the links aren't working. You know, it's not updated regularly. So you get the sense this might be a shell company here. This might, and that's what you would get if you are willing to work the info. All right, but what are the cons? You know, it's time. It is time consuming. Okay, psychologically or cognitively draining. Okay, this is probably the wrong word here, but it's draining. I mean, mentally it's draining. It's like you feel like you're trying to earn a new degree in something. All right, a lot of time. And then here's the real kicker, okay? False data. Okay, false data. You run into false data. I told you that I spent this year listening to audiobooks. I've listened to I don't know, 8 to 12, I somewhere around there. I'm listening to one right now about Washington Mutual called The Lost Bank. Incredibly interesting. They all to me are interesting for some reason. This year, I'll get a new interest next year. But if I can trust the authors of these, and some of these have worked in the banks that failed. I just heard one about Lehman Brothers, and the guy was a second head trader. Sometimes they put out wrong data purposefully. It's fraudulent, and they get away with it for a while, or they fudge the numbers for a bit, and they know what they're doing. They know the risk they're taking, the legal risk of fines, and of slaps on the hand, and of negative publicity, and no one wants to hear that you have an SEC investigation going on underway on your activity, but they do it. Okay. Here's another interesting part of it. You get stock advisors that the website they put up is primarily for the advertisement that they're selling, advertiser space. So they don't really care about the information they have, and the information is old. It's second, third hand. It's not good, but all they need are people to visit the site. They're not necessarily there to give you good information. They're there to sell the advertising space on their website. So that's something that you might run into. So the question is, eventually, can you trust the information? And now I know of instances where the raters received kickbacks from the companies. So they get a rating. A company might get a rating, and it's a high rating. But it's because the raters are somehow materially benefiting from. Now I'm not saying this is like happening all the time, but it happens enough for the credibility of this data to be somewhat suspect. Okay, so how much are you going to trust this? These are things to think about. Now I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to break the video because it's getting a bit long. So we'll finish this out by looking at the first practice, the graph only method.